Alex, what are the top 5 reasons you have for joining a mastermind?
So top 5 reasons that you guys are going to see in this webinar was number 1 is to get extreme clarity on your life and your business, the way you want that to look like. Number 2 is how to find these mentors and find these mastermind groups. Number 3 is how to deepen and strengthen your relationships with these people that you meet at these high level events. And if you want to find out number 4 and 5, watch the webinar. What's up, my deal makers? Happy to be back on here. I'm in Marina Del Rey, not too far from Will Wall. What's up, buddy?
Yo, what's up, sir? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. How's your afternoon going? I know we've been putting out some fires today.
Yeah, a couple fires today, but a couple new fires getting started, which is always excited. Have a couple good calls going and a couple good direct to seller leads and a couple of MLS leads that we're actually kind of pursuing. So, putting out fires, but starting new ones at the same time, right?
Yes, sir. The puck is always moving, right? It's like one challenge after another. And that's why you have to be a problem solver in this business, everybody, because there's always problems to solve. Sometimes it's the seller's problem. Sometimes it's an escrow problem. Actually, I was going to make a post about this because I've been getting very bad service from other escrow companies that I haven't worked with before. So I want to share that, you guys, that do whatever you can to be in control of who you choose for the escrow company and the title company you use, because the level of service that you get is way different from a company that you're established with, you've done deals with them, to like a brand new company that doesn't know who you are. I mean, they don't even communicate by phone call. Everything's like through email. They make mistakes. They don't get back to you soon. So yeah, that's what I've been dealing with a little bit with one of the transactions we got going on.
And that'll happen sometimes, right? When you don't get to choose your people that are working with your business, it's, people that are working with other people's businesses, maybe they're not as dedicated to you as the person on the other side would be. So that's always something you gotta, put out fires and work through, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just at that point, like, hey, if you guys can try to negotiate that you control the escrow company and the title company, we can't always do it, but you got to try it. And I'm just seeing that over and over again as a pattern. These companies just don't show us the same level of service. And I mean, this is an important transaction where they make mistakes too, and which can be costly and cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And then they charge you more too. Usually they're not going to show you as much love on the pricing. So there's just a lot of reasons why you should try to control escrow and title if possible. All right, we got some amazing people here attending. Thank you guys for your time as usual. Will, you want to do the housekeeping?
Yeah, guys, as always, feel free to let us know if you have any questions today during the webinar. We'll be using the Q&A feature down there. So use a Q&A if you do have a question, and we'll get you an answer. If it's something related to masterminding, that's what we're kind of diving into today. As always, if you guys don't mind, go ahead and use the chat feature down there. I see a couple people already chatting in, Allison and Ulysses and Andy. Some of our regulars, go ahead and chat in. Let us know where it is that you're tuning in from, where you are currently doing deals, and where we can connect with you. If you're on Instagram, let us know what your handle is. That way we can kind of touch base and follow up outside of these Wednesday webinars. Speaking of the webinars, Alex, I know last week you were here in Los Angeles. We were kind of traveling. We were coming back from the Antelope Valley. This week you're in Marina Del Rey. What's up with you next week? What's your schedule looking like here? Where are you going to be?
Well, I'm heading back to Hawaii tonight. I'm extremely excited to be back on the island of Maui. I'll be there around 8:30 p.m. I'll be there likely for about 3 weeks or so before I head back to LA. The flight leaves at 6, so as soon as I'm done with the webinar, I'm pretty much going to just head to the airport, which is, Marina Del Rey is not too far from the airport. So hopefully we get on there. And then, yeah, we're looking to get possession of our Maui deal. Shout out to Alex Ibarra, my acquisitions director in Maui. Looks like we're right there at the finish line to getting the possession. We had to negotiate with 3 tenants for this property, but I'm so excited because this thing's like a 3,700 square foot house with a sick ocean view of Maui. I'm gonna have it vacant for a couple of maybe about a week or so. It's gonna be completely vacant, and I'm excited to see what we can transform this property to. We're gonna do like a light rehab on it, and so that was a big piece of the deal, which is relocating the tenants, and it has not been easy. It's been a challenge. We actually bought the property at the beginning of May. So they've had free rent for a couple of months now. We're also going to give them some cash for a relocation. And it's one of those things that I've said this before, you guys, is you need to add negotiating with tenants to your skill set as an investor to get more deals and have more opportunities. They're not all ideal, but they've been some of my best deals. So we're doing that. Another update, we went to Ryan Pineda's office to do the podcast that he has. So we filmed and recorded that. Got to really, just see a couple of meetings that he was doing. I only went for one day, but and we're going to talk about that a little bit today, you guys, about making sure that you go to your mentors, you go to you have close proximity to them, because you just learn so much more when you're able to be hands-on with them and be close to them. And then, we're here to help each other, guys. So that's kind of where I'm going to be at the next week. I'm going to be back in Maui next Wednesday when we do another webinar.
And, again, Alex, you mentioned, buying properties with tenants, right? It's something that, sometimes seems a little bit scary, but right now there's some deals to be had with tenants in place. And if you buy them in the right number, that is a form of distress, right? You're not able to take on the current situation with the tenants and you're willing to sell at a discount. That qualifies just like all the other, motivating factors. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, and something that we haven't shied away with. You nailed it with Alex Ibarra out in Hawaii. That was a property that had 3 separate units, and you were able to negotiate with all 3 of those tenants. So that's, again, not just one, but 3 separate instances in the same property. Shout out to Nick Mobley, one of our partners on our deal out in the Palm Desert, La Quinta. Our guy Nick gave us a call the other day and was like, "Hey guys, I'm a little bit nervous about jumping on this phone call. I don't know what to do." And it was quickly, look, man, you're not nervous. It's you got this, and let's jump on the phone and start the negotiations. And again, it couldn't have turned out better. So definitely don't shy away from those properties with tenants, right?
Yep. And we probably could do a whole webinar on negotiating with tenants, because there's a lot to it. But it's just one of those skills that I encourage everybody to develop and to work on, because it's helped me land some amazing deals, including I want to say 3 of the 9 deals we're working on we bought with tenants, and they all look like they're going to be great deals. And
guys, it's another tool in the tool belt, right? So like Alex said, it's not like every property is going to fall into that category. But that's a reason that would make somebody want to sell their house is issues with their tenants. Camo is mentioning it right now, landlords that are tired. Like, that's a form of distress, guys. So you don't want to look away from those leads when there's competition in some of the other categories. Another property of ours, Alex, we got some great news on out in the Antelope Valley. We're able to get a tenant relocated, and it was fun for me. I actually got to kind of draw up my first tenant relocation agreement and get that part of the business figured out. And that's another tool that just falls into that tool belt now. So, again, not something you want to shy away from. You just want to make sure that you have, people around you that have done it before that can help you, navigate through that process.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we'll definitely
so Alex is going to make me host here in a second, guys. And we're going to send a couple of polls out your guys' way through the day. Just talking about masterminds right now and kind of, diving into that. Alex, let's get things kicked off. Like, what is a mastermind?
Well, I mean, the definition that I came up with really is a mastermind is like an event or a meeting or something put together for like really the sole purpose of collaboration, of like-minded entrepreneurs, a lot of times, real estate entrepreneurs, then we're just like sharing like our successes and struggles, so that way everybody in the group can learn and benefit from it. And so it's different than going to like a place where it's just like a course, maybe you're just being taught by like a couple of different presenters, but it's not one of those. It's more of like a meeting event, and it's more like synergistic collaboration, and everybody kind of just sharing openly. So that's what I consider a mastermind. And you don't have to pay for masterminds. You could actually mastermind yourself with people within your network that are working on some of the same things. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a paid mastermind. It's just the concept of like, what is a mastermind? Is that kind of my definition of it.
And to your point, Alex, you don't have to pay, right? You can have a free mastermind. You could have a group of, people that say, hey, let's get together and mastermind. But, typically you have to bring something to the table, right? It's not like you're going to just let anybody come to the mastermind. One that I think of, pretty often is the Hawaii group. I know Camo High's in it and Zasha's in it and Warren and Zaylin and a lot of our, regular participants and Tay and these are a group of people that meet regularly. And when they're in that mastermind, they're all discussing Hawaii properties because that's something they all have in common, right?
Yeah.
So if you know something about Hawaii properties that I don't, we can maybe all kind of share that knowledge and that information and help grow our business the same way. So shout out to you guys, for putting together a mastermind like that together with your group. Some legendary investors out there just sharing their knowledge with other people along the way, right?
Yep.
So, Alex, that's what a mastermind is. What are, some of the pros and cons maybe of being in a mastermind?
Well, so I'd say first, the pros, I mean, which is there's a lot of them. I think is number one is you get exposure to other investors that are high level. For me, the masterminds I've attended, I mean, I that's where I met Ryan Pineda at the Hawaii Mastermind, and these Steve Rosenberg, this other kind of basically mentor of mine, Vince and Hector and Gus and his wife over at the recent Mastermind. I mean, I could go on and on. Also, one of the hard money lenders that we use a lot of right now is Certain Lending. I met the CEO of that company that turned into one of our main lenders through the Mastermind. Meeting Brandon Turner, obviously, having that relationship develop and all the things that has helped my life, be transformed by knowing these people, by learning from them. So, I mean, the pros are like you're gonna get exposure to like some really high level people, but like you said earlier, you got to bring something to the table to be around people like that. Also, being able to like work and really actually do deals with people at the groups, it happens organically. Old example would be like I actually bought a property from Ryan Pineda. They wholesaled me like 6 months after we met at that initial Maui Mastermind. So we actually did deals together. He made a bunch of money on that wholesale. I made a bunch of money on flipping the property. It was total win-win. And then more recently, I went to Mexico and I was kind of in a sense masterminding with my buddy Jay Martin over there. And then he ended up, becoming a lender on one of our properties because he's liquidating most of his portfolio and just going completely passive. So it just organically came up. So, those are just, examples of the past and recent examples of like doing actual business with people that you're masterminding with. And it's just not forced. It just happens organically because you're just sharing openly. Another big pro I found is that there's investors that will share like very specific, and entrepreneurs that you're masterminding with very specific details about their business. That I mean, it's so detailed because it's based off their action and their teamwork and everything else. So you're like leaning on their experience and learning from them and cutting out some learning curves and filling in some blind spots, as I like to say. And it just is a total value there because like you're not going to get that from just like a phone call or a Zoom meeting. Like that's like intimate, a detail of their business, and they're sharing it because they're and it's an open environment. So I think those are a couple of the big pros. The cons, I would say, if you're not prepared to like take action and you're not willing to like put in like the work yet, or for whatever reason you got too many obligations or just not enough time to execute, I just do not think paying for a mastermind is a smart thing to do, because you're going to get this information, you're going to get these relationships, and you're not going to be able to do anything with it because you're not prepared, you're not ready to take action. So don't join it, and it's a waste of money in a sense. Also, I think there's times
It's not like paying that money is what gets you the growth of your business. It's the action that you take from it. It's not just hey, I'm going to pay $15,000 to join this mastermind and my business will grow. You have to, put in what you're going to get out. Mm-hmm. So I love that you mentioned that. You have to be, fully ready to dive in and say, hey, I want to learn from the other people in this mastermind. I need to grow my business in this certain way. And this person is doing that and I can align with them. So I love that you pointed that out.
Yeah. And I've made that mistake before personally. That's why I put that in there, where I'm like, hey, I wasn't really ready to execute, or I didn't have the right team members on board or whatever that was. And I paid for an expensive, course or something. And then later on in hindsight, I'm like, damn, I just wasn't ready to execute. I wasn't, in place to like really give everything I got to that. I just expected for this thing to just like, you open the box and it just works. Like, no, it's masterminding is not like that. You have to be ready to put in the work. Another thing that comes to mind is, you could choose the wrong group or just people that are like in a different type of like investing space or something. Like, so it's like if you're part of a group that, is just mainly focused on multifamily or something, and you're flipping and it's just kind of not, there's no alignment there. So I think you could choose the wrong group of people, or just that, maybe they're also in other parts of the country. Maybe you want to mastermind with people closer to your market. So I think choosing the wrong group is a potential con there. And if you don't have anything to really share, then you could also, that could be a con too, because if you haven't put in work, you haven't done any deals, you haven't really, you're not bringing anything to the table, then you're not going to be able to get the most out of it. And then the people that are, you're meeting, they're not going to get much out of, meeting you either. So, I think that's another con there. Yeah.
And look, there's going to be pros and cons to every one of them. I love what you pointed out there about knowing the group that you're joining, right? So if you're doing flips and you join a mastermind for rental properties, you're probably not going to get as much out of it unless you are looking to make a shift in your portfolio and say, hey, I have the flipping under wraps. I want to start learning more about, these rental properties. Then that might make sense. But if you're not looking to do that kind of business, it probably isn't going to, again, the monetary transaction isn't going to just teach you how to do rentals. Yeah. You still have to put in that work. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned earlier that you had done a deal with Ryan Pineda, right? So obviously, you did the mastermind, you saw some monetary return, but on average, Alex, like, what do you think you can expect to see in a business, when you do a mastermind? What do you think your business can increase from that? And I'm going to put out a poll for you guys. If you were to spend $10,000 on a mastermind, Alex, what would you expect to see back?
Personally, I shoot for 4 or 5x returns on my money, on my investment. So if I invest, say, $10,000 into something, I'm hoping to at least get $40,000 to $50,000 back in, profit, revenue, something that's going to be tangible for the business. So I'd say that's my target goal. I mean, obviously, the more the better. I mean, these masterminds.
You're not going to cap it at 5.
But I mean, the reality is these masterminds that I've gone to and I paid for, like, they've had like 20x returns, like 10x returns, like crazy amounts, because of the trajectory, the change in my business because of that relationship or that conversation or that extra vendor and all that. So I couldn't say enough good things about the quality masterminds.
Even unquantifiable ones, like you mentioned, the relationship with the lender, with certain lending, that's something that you'll see returns over the deals that you do. So it's a continuously growing. You can't really, just put it on a one-time, 1 or 2 or 3 or 5x. So there's certain relationships that you can just see exponential growth from. And again, I think you nailed it earlier in your pro section when you talked about it. Other investors at these masterminds are just willing to dive in a little bit deeper. And you guys have gotten exposed to it, in the webinar here, when people come on and we have people that give you these tips and inside looks at their business. When people are in comfortable spaces, that's when they're willing to kind of dive in and give you those deep details. And, I think that's also a return that might not necessarily be quantifiable. But Alex, I know I've met with 3 or 4, 5 people individually from the Ryan Pineda Mastermind that I've been able to sit down with and dissect certain pieces of their business and bring that back to our business and say, hey, Clint is reaching out to real estate agents. Okay, well, this is now something that we're going to do. And you might not have gotten that if you didn't have Clint being willing to open up to the group in that kind of setting. So
yeah, to add to that, Will, when you're building relationships with these other entrepreneurs, they're taking action concurrently with you. So then 30 days down the road, you've taken action. 30 days down the road, they've taken action, and so you can kind of compare notes consistently over time on what's working, what's not, so that people don't see that. Like, it is super valuable.
And again, that's stuff that you don't get that interaction on the first end if you don't take that leap. So while these webinars are great, I do think that you are going to find a little bit more openness. I know Allison is commenting that Alex, you're very sharing with your knowledge, and that's something that's sometimes rare in the industry. But man, when you join these masterminds, I think that's where you really start to see people share and dive in and give you those insights and tips on their business that you might not find other places.
Yep.
So we're getting some results back here from the poll, and I'll go ahead and share the results with everybody just so you guys can see. It seems like, Alex, everybody's kind of right there on that target with you. It's not like you're going to put in 5,000 to make 5,000. That's kind of an even bet, but 2x to 3x seems to be where most people are expecting something, and then it seems like there's a little bit more population, about 8 people that are on the same page as you, Alex, which is, hey, if I'm investing $10,000, I would want to see a $50,000 return on that, for that to be worth my time and effort kind of diving in. So again, I think that's awesome.
Add to that again, Will, that's why we said earlier, like, that's why you gotta be ready to take action so you can get that 5x or more, or a solid return on your investment. But that's not going to happen like in a week or a month. That's going to happen over the course of the next 6 months to a year, maybe. But you got to go out there, attack, implement the things that you learn, follow up with the people that you met there, to just squeeze everything that you can out of that investment. Because if you don't, then you're not going to get the best return. You'll still get a return, but it'll not as much as you could have got.
I love that. I mean, you're right. If you join a mastermind, you're still going to get a 2x return. You put in 10,000, you're probably going to get 20,000 back, just if you get your feet wet. But if you actually dive in, and take action from within that mastermind, I think that's where you can start to see those 5x results. Like, you took massive action with Ryan Pineda, showed him that you were taking down deals out here in LA on a regular basis, a deal that came up that was out of his box, fell into your lap, and it was, hey, I know Alex can take this thing down. And, you saw your 5x return right there. But I would be lying if I think you haven't seen more than 5x return. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I think it's, if I did the math, it's at least 10 to 20x return on the money I've made, based on investing into these masterminds.
And that's both, Ryan, your Maui mastermind and all the masterminds that you've kind of been a part of. I think you can kind of expect to see those same results. So diving in, like, for you specifically, Alex, how has masterminding helped you grow your business?
Well, for me specifically, I think the number one thing is the clarity, just to understand how to structure and handle the needs of my business. Because once you have that clarity of like, hey, this is the type of business that I want to create, then it's a matter of like, okay, what do I got to do to create that? And then you're going down the checklist. So I think that's been like a critical for my growth. It's just like, I'm super clear on the company and the lifestyle and the team that I want to create. And so that helps me take action, because there's no fogginess. Hey, this is very clear. And then there's also, like, for me, it's helped me in my business, I want to say, because of the accountability. And when you befriend people performing at a high level that you respect highly, that you want to be around, that you want to be like in some way, like, there's that kind of accountability there where I'm like, I feel accountable to maximizing my potential, because I have these friends, these associates, these people that I've stated my goals to, that I've opened up to, that I've shared my struggles and successes with. And so, like, there's like this accountability that's kind of like, it's formal and informal. Formal and like, hey, yeah, some of my guys will check in with me. Some of the people that I've met, other people I'll check in with them. Some of it's, like I said, a little bit more informal or formal, but it's still, there's accountability there that continues after the masterminds. And then the relationships, also continue. Like, I get to spend some time in Mexico now because I befriended Jay Martin, and he's traveling full time. And so I go down there, and we're hanging out, talking about business and growth, but at the same time, enjoying life. And then I want to say also another big thing was, like, I remember the first mastermind that I went to. When I got out of that mastermind, I got more clarity on, like, the type of marketing and what works and what doesn't work. And I kind of got to, like, adopt and use other people's business models, because I got exposed to their business model and what was working for them. So I kind of got to maybe not copy, but like mimic and, just emulate a little bit of what's working for them, but for my market. An example of that would be, like, I learned that, because I didn't want to hire a project manager that was going to cost me $50,000, $60,000 a year. I would rather tie, them directly to the deal. And so I heard one of the investors at a mastermind was doing like a flat fee. Like, the project manager will get, say $2,500 just to manage that project. So then it doesn't increase my monthly overhead, but I still get the role player and the team member that I need. And so like I copied that from somebody else's business model, and I wouldn't have learned that if I hadn't gone to a mastermind and met somebody that was doing that. And then there's certain vendors that I've got, like the certain lending, the hard money lender, certain also companies that for example we use for mailing, the deal machine stuff. So a lot of vendors that you learn that are working for other investors, you can end up using those same vendors as well. And then finally, I think the big one is another big one is inspiration. When you see other investors that you work with or that you've met in these masterminds, and they're crushing it in their business, and they're sharing that stuff on social media, and you kind of like following along each other's journey. Like I get a lot of inspiration to see Ryan and Brandon and some of these other big investors, and it gives me like an idea of like how far I could take this. Do I want to take it that far, or is it just going to give me inspiration to accomplish what I said I want to do with my business? So there's that. I would say there's all those areas that I've helped grow my business and my life because I attended masterminds on a regular basis.
And I like how you brought up the accountability side of things, right? Like, again, it's not all just Ryan or Brandon Turner or Taro Yarber, the guys that are throwing these events, but it's your accountability to those other people in the group. Like, hey, I was with you guys. I said I was going to hit this goal this month or this year or this quarter. Before I come back out and see you guys, I want to make sure that I put in my full effort to do that, because if not, when I see you guys again, I'm going to have to look at you guys and say, hey, I didn't do what I said I was going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And so again, it's not really a quantifiable, you can't put a 2X on that, but you can say, hey, I said I was going to hit 10 flips this quarter. I hit 10 flips this quarter. And, that in and of itself is how you can kind of see some growth, right?
Yep.
So guys, I want to remind you, if you do have any specific questions on masterminds, go ahead and use the Q&A feature down there at the bottom of the page. We got a couple more questions we're going to kind of run through here. Specifically, Alex, if you are looking for a mastermind, like what are some tips on how to find a mentor or find that right group?
Well, yeah, we talked about this a little bit, and in the past where just people want to be mentored, but there's a certain way about going about it. I think the first thing comes to mind is always just identifying like the kind of mentor that you're looking to kind of emulate, the type of investor you're looking to become. For me, it was like I knew I wanted to throw my hat in the ring for becoming a full-time real estate investor as a house flipper to make enough money to then buy other passive income stuff. So I found somebody that was doing exactly what I wanted to do. So just identifying the kind of mentor that you're looking for. And then number two, I think you have to understand the kind of business they're running. Maybe it's just kind of on a high level, but you're really understanding like what would a business like that need? What are the problems of a business like that? Because once you know the type of investor you want to be like, and once you know what kind of business they have, then I think you can figure out their needs and maybe problems they might have, and then figure out which one of those you could kind of help on. One very common one is, investors are always looking for more deals or more money to fund these deals. Or quality team members that have skills such as marketing, social media, and all that. So if you figure out the type of person you want to be like, you figure out kind of the business that they have, you figure out what kind of problems they have and needs they have, and then you figure out how you fit into that picture. I think you're going in with a lot better you're playing better cards there. You give yourself better chances of being mentored compared to just someone, hey, like I want to flip some houses. Like, can you mentor me? Excuse my language, but what the fuck are you gonna do for me? Like you just want me to mentor you just because it says mentor on my Instagram page? Like, yeah, but what do you bring to the table? Are you gonna be like coachable? Are you gonna take action? Like, what do you bring to this equation? And I think that's extremely important that you identify all that, so that way you just you find the right mentors, because you might have to approach multiple mentors. You might have to approach 5, 6, 10 of them to get that one that you really need as well. So if you don't think about it that way, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot and then not giving yourself the best chances to be mentored by a high quality mentor.
And, obviously you nailed it, Alex. Sometimes there's, mentors that just help you kind of, on smaller stuff. Sometimes you get a bigger mentor. I'm going to go ahead and put a poll question out. And I saw a couple of people already kind of chiming in the chat, but just wondering, from you guys out there, have you guys ever paid to attend a mastermind? just a quick kind of poll question out there. I know, Alex, you've obviously paid to attend some of these masterminds and paid a good amount of money to attend some of these masterminds, but just wanted to get a feel from everybody else out there, whether or not they've attended one and what they kind of thought of that.
Yeah, with it all in, I would say I'm probably about like $30,000 in on masterminds in the last 2 years.
So when you have like, a mentor, Alex, you've mentioned you spent the 30,000 or so now. What's the next step? Once you've paid for this mentorship or acquired a mentor that you're not paying for, like, what's that next step? Like, how would you deepen that relationship and continue to grow and add value? You mentioned, what are you bringing to the table? How do you find ways to deepen that relationship?
Well, I love this question because it isn't simply just meeting, mentors or meeting people in these masterminds, but then what do you do after that to deepen those relationships, to strengthen them, to keep them going, to keep them growing, because relationships are either growing or they're dying, really. And you got to invest, time, effort, energy into them for them to flourish, really. So I like to use that word proximity, because I think being in the proximity of your mentors is extremely important. For me, I mean, my case is a little bit extreme. Like I moved to Maui. Part of that reason I moved to Maui is to be closer to Brandon Turner and everybody else that's on that island. That's rock star investors. I thought it was very little downside to that decision. But that now I'm close proximity, so I get to be around them on a more regular basis. Also, like you can attend a lot of their virtual meetings and support them on social media. But just following along and being close to them is extremely important. And then, for example, like the second company that I worked for, I moved from Studio City, a very nice place I was, leasing there at the time with my twin brother, to a shitty 2-bedroom apartment in a part of town that I didn't really want to live, so I can be closer to the office, so I could be closer to my 3 mentors at that time, because I knew like I was going to be burned out driving an hour and a half to work, driving an hour and a half back after a long day of grinding. So like I just said, like, hey, the proximity is more important to me, so I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to go move closer to my mentors there. And then the quarterly mastermind that we have through the coaching program with Future Flipper, we go every quarter. Now, do I want to have to fly, in and a couple of days? I've said this before, and no offense to my Vegas people, but I'm not a fan of Vegas. I don't like Vegas. It's not a city I like to be in, but I want to be around my mentors and around other, rock star people. So we fly into Vegas, once a quarter to attend that mastermind as well. Again, proximity. You have to be close to these people for you to get the best value and for them to be wanting to mentor you as well. There has to be that face-to-face time eventually, or just staying in close contact through social media and then just virtual meetings. And then you have to do one or the other to strengthen, deepen those relationships and for opportunities to come up. So like, for example, we went and supported Brian Murray to go do this trail run race up in Bend, Oregon. I didn't have to go, but I'm like, hey, I'm going to be able to spend time with my mentors, with my people, with other investors that are doing stuff at a much higher level than me. And I think the trip all in cost me somewhere around $1,200 by, airfare, the Airbnb house that we stayed at, food and accommodation. Do I want to spend $1,200? No, I don't. But that was, 4 days of spending high quality time with my mentors and other people that are teaching me stuff. So, it's an investment of time, money, energy, but that proximity wouldn't happen if I hadn't, built those relationships and continue. I wouldn't got that offer to go to that, to that meeting or to that event if I hadn't been part of these other masterminds and stayed in close contact and proximity to my, my mentors and the relationships I built with these people.
And you mentioned something really subtle there, which is just supporting them in other ways, right? Like, of course, you took it to the extreme and went up to Oregon and supported Brian on a full cross country run, right? Didn't have to go that level, but it can be something as small as sharing wins on Instagram, sharing somebody's post, liking, commenting on somebody's post, showing them that you're active. I know, one thing that always kind of brings home to me was when Steve Rosenberg was in town. He's one of our mentors, and he hits you up and says, Alex, I'm sweating to death out here. It's the middle of the summer. Can you help me out? And you were like, yeah, man, in an hour, I'll have an AC unit. I have a portable one sitting right here. It'll be down there at your spot, right?
Yeah.
And that right there is subtle, but that strengthens that relationship so much, because now Steve knows you as the go-to guy for anything he needs in LA. And you kind of have that relationship with him as well, where, hey, if I need anything from Steve, I can always kind of fall back and get that assistance from him. So it's a give and take relationship, right? You have to
Yeah,
bring something
and
to the
then
table.
also what we've done with the whole future flipper thing, right, is we always lean on some of Ryan's staff. So we'll get his marketing person on our Zoom to help train us, and we lean on them as needed, because like we're all connected and we want to help each other. So that's been super cool too, being able to like tap into like the teams of some of these high level entrepreneurs that maybe like they can't help me, or maybe someone on their team can help me, and we've done that as well because of attending these masterminds and being close to these other mentors.
And you mentioned strengthening those relationships. So I think that's why you're able to kind of get time from some of these really high level investors, is they know, hey, you know what, I'm giving Alex a little bit of my time, but that time is going to come back and end up being worth it on the back end, right? So I think that's something to take into consideration whenever you're looking at those types of properties. What way can you add value? Is it via a property? Is it via a deal that you guys are looking at? Or is it just in some kind of personal way, whether it's attending a big event like a run or a marathon? Or is it, hey man, can I just provide a couple of likes or a couple of comments? So Alex, those are huge kind of tips. I have one other question that I want to kind of go to. And this is, again, for people that are dealing with a field in real estate that they might not be as familiar with. How do you find a mentor in that kind of field? Like if you're looking into a category that you might not have as much experience in, and you might not have something to bring to the table, what does that look like?
Well, I think that's simply just networking your butt off, and then choosing like different channels, different sites. Like Bigger Pockets has a great forum, location where you could find people that are in that market. So I think you have to just kind of combo it up, and just combination of social media, websites, reach out to people. Like for example, this year I've made it a goal to start transitioning and buying more multifamily and passive income type of properties for the long term. And so I've been reaching out to asking for referrals. I've been making posts about it, and it's been amazing to get this feedback and to connect with people, and with people that in markets such as Texas, Arizona, Florida. Those are the states that have kind of stood out as states, because I'd like to invest in multifamily, but also states and areas that I might want to visit sometime, because I love to travel so much. So I don't want to just like invest into some area that I would never want to go to either. And even it might not be that exact area, but like within like say an hour of that area, I want something cool, fun, and I'm that type of investor. So I've been reaching out to people in those areas. I don't know those areas that well, but I've been getting some quality feedback and some just some great referrals and some insight, and helping me decide what areas I want to go see, and so that we can begin investing in multifamily in those areas. And so that's an example of just networking, reaching out to people in those markets through different channels, and then just learning from those people. But you don't want to just take I'm calling these people. These are people that they know I'm out here taking action. They know I have my own business in SoCal and Hawaii, so there's there's reciprocity potential there as well. So make sure that people understand that you're not just reaching out to take, but like you want to do deals, and that's why you're reaching out.
So you nailed it, Alex. Like, even if it's an area that you're not in, you can still maybe like somebody's post. You can still maybe attend their meetup or their webinar and get on the radar. And that way, when you are ready to join that mastermind, it's not like you're at square one, but it's, hey, you know what, I've taken a couple of steps and I want to shift my business. And we see that in a couple of the masterminds that you're a part of, right? Not everybody in Brandon's fits into one box, but everybody there is a high level investor. And so it kind of lets you spread the box. A lot of the people in Ryan Pineda's are flippers, but some of them are wholesalers that are trying to become flippers. And so that's kind of a value add for everybody there, because, hey, there's people that are flipping at a high level. There's people that are wholesaling at a high level. And there's a lot of synergy kind of between there. So I don't think you always have to necessarily know what field it is that you're looking for, but you at least have to have something to bring to the table.
Yep, absolutely.
So the last thing I want to do is kind of jump into a question here for you, Alex, about defining that mentor-mentee relationship? Like at the onset, what are you kind of doing to kind of make sure that that turns out into a positive, or so that you do get that 5x
Yeah.
result from the
Yeah,
mastermind?
no, I love this question because I think a lot of people, want to be mentees and a lot of people want to be mentors and such. And so, but I think it's important. Number one, I think you need to get your mindset correct. Like, hey, I, I'm just going to be a student here, right? I'm just going to be a mentee. And what is a good student? Somebody that's coachable, someone that's active, someone that, implements the stuff that is recommended by the mentor. So I think just having that solid mindset of like, hey, I'm going to be learning from this person. So I'm just going to just shut up and not, I might know some things, but I'm going to be a fly on the wall. I'm very vocal, I'm extroverted, but when I'm around other people that I want to learn from, like I'm asking great questions, right? I'm not the one talking. So we talk about this often. It comes up a lot because it's relevant. It's like the roles and the goals. So I think if you're a mentee, you have to figure out like how many hours am I really willing to dedicate? What are the skills that I provide? So that way there's just real details as to what you're bringing to the table, and very specific. And then, then mentor can consider that like, hey, this person is willing to do this, they're willing to do that. Let me see if I can fit them in. And then as a mentor, I think you have to be ready to like, teach things that are, have worked for you. I'm not a fan of like teaching things like that I don't know or that I just heard, maybe from other people. I teach things that I'm from real world experience, from stuff I've done. And I don't know it all, but I definitely I just want to mentor people that are going to implement the stuff and they're going to take the action. Those are people I reward with my time, because I don't make any direct money by mentoring people, but I get a lot of satisfaction because I've been able to transform my life through having the right people and following their directions and then, going and taking action in this business. So I just want people to do the same thing because I know it's possible because I'm not, special or extremely talented or anything like that. So I see other people that have these like skills and it's mindset and just like I want to mentor the right people that have good character, that are in markets that I'm doing business in, and that I generally feel like I can help accomplish their goals. But they have to be action takers. They got to be coachable. And then they got, like I said earlier, they have to bring something tangible to the table. So that way it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
And I like what you said about mindset, man, because, again, this is something that we've been talking about since day one on the webinar, right? Mindset. Do you think that we can flip 100 houses? Hell yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the Ryan Pineda Mastermind, right? We want to scale our business, but know in our head, like, dude, we could do that. Mm-hmm. Like, that's something that we could accomplish. We could achieve that. Do we need some help to get there? Yeah, of course. Is somebody already up there doing it? Yeah, great. So, again, I love how you mentioned the mindset thing, because if you don't believe that you can flip 100 homes, then, joining that mastermind probably isn't going to hit, right?
Yeah. And the reason I mentioned it first is because I've had a lot of people reach out to me and then they want to be mentored, but then they disappear. Or like, just like, I could tell it's that ego and it's like, okay, you've had success in this business, but now you want to learn real estate, but because you're successful in something else, you got this big ego. Like, oh yeah, I'm cool. I'm already successful. I'm already making money, but I also want to learn real estate now. Like Alex mentored me. Well, look, bro, you're not in the right mindset. You're in the mindset of like, you're having success here and you're carrying that over. Like it's going to, yeah, there's probably some skills that are, that helped you with your current business and this new business, but you're not going in with the mindset like, hey, I'm going to be a mentee on this. I'm going to be learning. I'm going to be a student. You're going with more like, hey, let me just add this. I'm already having success. And that's just not the right way to go about it. I've seen it. And then that has made me not want to actually mentor those people because they're coming with this big ego or with this like entitlement attitude rather than like, for example, like Omari and you guys have the right mindset where it's like, hey, like I bring something to the table, you bring something to the table, but like you're not going about this like with these other people that I just mentioned that I've seen it time and time again where they just come in with this attitude where it's just like, hey, that attitude is not going to help you get mentored. So.
And you also mentioned in there the roles and goals part, and again that just comes back to what we talk about on a weekly basis here, right? Is aligning with your roles and goals. So for you and I, Alex, what's kind of been working for us is at the beginning, at the onset, we kind of established those roles and goals. It was, hey, I want to learn real estate, everything about it from a successful real estate business. And you said, well, hey, I operate a successful real estate business. I said, what's my goal? To do that in a year. He said, cool, I can teach you everything in a year. So, establishing what those kind of goals and roles are at the onset, I think really does help you on the back end of that relationship, because now you know what to expect and what you need to put in to get there, right?
Yep, yep. And then I think we were going to try to cover some something else here, right? Was it the details of the mastermind in Vegas, or?
Yeah, we're gonna pull up. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen right now, and we'll kind of review some of my notes here from the mastermind that we just got back from out with Ryan Pineda in Vegas. So I'll go ahead and share my screen with you guys. You should be able to see that now. And what we're looking at here is, again, just a high level overview of what you get exposed to at one of these kind of masterminds. So, Alex, when we got there, it was a suggestion of a book, right?
Yeah, that Netflix book is a book about Netflix. I already went through it twice, man. It's such an amazing book, dude.
And it's crazy how you kind of see that alignment, right? It's like, hey, Alex has suggested that book. And then, hey, this is the first thing that Ryan kind of brings in and suggests is, hey, we should probably check out this book because it really talks about something that Alex is big on, which is, hiring A players, right? And working with only, and we've actually changed this now. It's not even A, it's A plus.
A+ players.
It's
Let's
A plus
go, baby.
So, just again, kind of seeing that alignment and the synergy there. Hey, that's the book that Ryan wanted to point out, and it's coincidentally one of the books that Alex has also pointed out recently. So
yeah, and the book, the premise, I know we don't need to go too deep into it, but it talks about this freedom and responsibility. So that's the culture they have. You have the freedom to kind of operate, on your own, but then you have the responsibility to get the results. So, and then, yeah, like you says here, it says here on the feedback, the lowest level employee could give the CEO, candid feedback. And we're so soft nowadays. Like, if Will tells me something, I don't get offended. Like, I just like, okay, take it as feedback and I'm going to try to improve. And then vice versa. Like, I don't, so feedback is so important to growth because, if you just have people that are telling you, yes, you're good, then you're not going to grow.
And again, it starts with that beginning, right? Is being willing to take feedback as well as give it. You can't just be a one-way street. Another big point that Ryan kind of made was social media, right? And Alex, I know, again, this is something that you talk about regularly. How important is social media?
It's just, it's.
Are you doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on it? Like it's important.
It just, hey guys, it's not going away. Just like get used to it, get better at it. We're still working on ourselves, but like I've attracted private money lenders, I've attracted deals, I've attracted valuable team members all through social media. So you guys should be and could be doing all the same thing.
And it's about telling your story, right? Because your story is what aligns with other people. Other people want to learn how to take down deals. So if you're showing people in your story how to do that, you're going to find that synergy and you're going to find money. You're going to find partners. You're going to find opportunities. They'll all kind of present themselves, right?
Yeah, and there's different versions of your story you guys can tell, guys. It's like the 60-second version, the 3-minute version, the 5-minute version, the 30-minute version. So that way you practice, and it doesn't matter if you're, hey, I just started out, I got a full-time job, but I've been, listening to Bigger Pockets and, attending these webinars for 2 months, and then I'm going to start making offers next week. That's your story. That could be your story. It doesn't mean you haven't done a deal yet, but you still have a story within, and we're story animals. That's why the Bible, has so many stories. That's why Rich Dad, Poor Dad is so popular, because of the story it tells, and it's all memorable. So I've also worked on that a lot to be able to continue to practice my story. And that's why I also went and did the podcast with Ryan, this past week, because I told my story on Bigger Pockets in November of last year, but there's been 7 months of a lot of growth and a lot of changes in my life and business. And so I'm like, dude, I got to update, update in my reach and my fan base and the people that, that align with my story. So yeah, that's huge.
And I love how you had different stories. You have a 30-second story, the elevator pitch. Like, hey, you meet Ryan Pineda and you're in an elevator, you're going to floor 50. What are you going to say? You got 30 seconds a minute. And then you also have that hour-long story, which is, hey, if I'm actually diving into it with somebody, could I speak for an hour about my real estate career and my real estate goals? And, how would I kind of go about doing that? So I love that. I know Ryan said he's made literally millions of dollars off of social media. I don't think you're quite there yet, but hundreds of thousands would probably be accurate.
It's at least $250,000. In the last 2 years, I've made at least $250,000 by the relationships and deals that I bought through social media, at least.
So, again, I think that's a really, really big key there, guys, is, find out how to get involved. Ryan went as far as to say, like, look, dude, at some point we're going to be in Ready Player One. Like, if you've seen that movie, there's going to be a reality, and then there's going to be the Instagram reality, which is, what we're already kind of starting to see now. And so you just want to make sure that you go all in right now so that you're not caught behind.
I actually went and watched that movie the next night or sometime like after. It was very interesting. I had never heard of it, but it was very interesting because Ryan was basically saying like, we're going to get to that in the future where people don't like reality is like fake. People don't want to be part of it. They just want to be in the like, almost in like the Matrix, I guess you would say, which is like social media and all the stuff that you see online compared to real life. So like, real life is fake life right now. And then the online life is the real life. It's crazy.
Alex is ready for player one. Let's go. So Alex, how much do you spend when you post on social media? It's free, baby. You're not paying for it. Why wouldn't you post on there? Why wouldn't you let people know that you're searching for deals? Why wouldn't you let people know your 30-second story on there? It's free. So, again, he kind of broke down the importance of platforms. And if you guys aren't already aware, YouTube is arguably one of the most important platforms you can be a part of because it is one of the most monetized platforms out there. So if you are looking to, receive monetary compensation, YouTube is where that can live, right? The other reason he uses YouTube is because YouTube is content that is quote evergreen. You can post a video on YouTube on how to search for distressed properties, and somebody can find that anytime and figure out, hey, I want to find a distressed property. I can find that from that video. With TikTok, with Instagram, those are all going to get buried down deeper and deeper into your field. And so, YouTube, that's why that kind of has the most importance. And then TikTok, Instagram, and podcasts are your next easiest way. And the reason why the podcast was so important, same reason for us guys, is the vibe of the tribe, right? Someone who's willing to listen for 1 hour in a podcast might be one of our most high quality followers. And so that means that you guys here in this room, the people that connect week in and week out, you are our biggest followers. And that's why we're willing to give you this time week in and week out, right?
Yep, exactly. And that was, I'd never heard that before. I thought that to be super valuable when he made that point. Like, hey, somebody because I've been a super fan of the Bigger Pockets podcast. And I know that, that's influenced me a lot because I would spend hours and hours and hours listening to those.
And we tune in weekly, right? We tune into the Kiko Capital every week. We have a couple of weekly webinars that we tune in on. And the reason why is because, hey, we're high quality followers. We like those guys and we receive a lot of value.
Yeah, and then the reality is we're now doing deals through this webinar. We've already got 2 deals through this webinar that we're working. We're doing joint ventures on the Joshua Tree deal and the La Quinta, Palm Springs deal that we're doing with Nick Mobley. Like we actually strengthen our relationships through this webinar, and now we're doing deals through it. So we're deal makers, baby. Let's go.
And that's how you can kind of find those biggest fans is hey, if you're actively coming to the webinar, those are the people that when you guys reach out to me on Instagram and say, hey, Will, I have a couple of questions. It's, hey man, I've seen you in the webinar every week. Like, I'm happy to pour back into you because, you're putting in on the front side. So Alex, how much is too much to post?
I don't post enough, and I post almost every day as I understand it. So you got to post as much as you can. And then you get better at doing it, right? Like it says here. And then you never know which post or which are going to resonate the most and what can go viral. So
sometimes my posts that I think are going to be the best end up doing mediocre. And sometimes the mediocre ones end up doing really well. You never really know, right? Unless you post, unless you get it out there. So we also got to hear from Steve Trang. And again, we kind of pointed this out earlier on. You're not just aligning yourself with Ryan Pineda, but you're aligning yourself with all the other investors in there and the people that want to align themselves with Ryan. And so, we got to hear from arguably one of the top sales trainers out there. And one of the biggest things I took from him was that you want to take pressure off of the homeowner. When you're going to direct to seller appointment, think about it from their perspective. Just like for you, you're going into their house, they're having somebody into their property, into their place. what does that feel like for them? And what can you do to alleviate and remove that pressure from that buying experience, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about building professional rapport. And that's really when you get to that point. So, the first thing is a thank you for inviting them into your home. Like, hey, you've invited me out to see your home today, and I wanted to thank you for that. And that builds rapport with people, believe it or not. You say thank you to somebody, and they're pretty happy about that. And then the other big point is to alleviate that pressure, you want to share how this experience normally works. So set the expectation on the front end. And we kind of talked about that. When you go on a seller appointment, how do you guys envision that appointment going? Do you envision it going, hey, I walk into the house, I take a couple pictures, and then I leave a number and hey, here's my offer, here's my number, give me a call? Well, then that's what you're going to get. Is you're going to maybe get a call if they maybe like your number. But the way Steve broke it down was let them know, hey man, expect that I'm going to be there for 30 or 40 minutes. Expect that after I've been there for 30 or 40 minutes, I'm going to have some questions and you're going to have some questions. And let them know that on the beginning end, because then when you get to those questions, you've already prefaced it, right? You've already asked them, hey, Alex, if I get to the point where I'm going to buy your house, are you going to be comfortable giving me some private information about it? And if you haven't asked that on the beginning, then it's a lot tougher to get that out on the back end. So, just really kind of understanding the framework of the conversation and how you would want to flow through that was something that Steve really kind of, brought to light for me. So I really enjoyed that portion of it. And then hearing about the positioning and scarcity. So when you go into that meeting, let them know that you're only buying one or two other houses. And if they miss this opportunity, you might not be buying their house. And really, it's something that we've done before in the past, Alex. We've done, hey, this offer expires in a certain amount of time. It's only valid for this period of time. But really on the seller side, when you're going direct to the seller, you can also implement that same urgency by positioning and letting them know, hey, my money is scarce. I only have enough bandwidth for 2 more deals this month. And if you want your home to be one of those deals, you got to lock it in now.
Yep. Yes.
So I think those are some huge kind of takeaways. And then also just the takeaways from the individual performers, right? Alex, you had the Kristen Stampinis diving into, VA culture and what you kind of look for in a VA. You had Vince last quarter one, kind of really diving in on a step-by-step text blast protocol and how to kind of go about it. And, again, I think those are the really valuable things. Gus and Jess, True Neighbor, really diving into their kind of platform and how they go about things. So really those are some of the big takeaways, guys. And we're going to share a copy of these notes for you guys here in the Ask Alex Facebook group. So
yeah, after that Steve Trang training at the Mastermind, I wanted to get on the phone with some sellers, man. I wanted to close some deals. I was so hyped up, man, because he breaks things down. And I think we're going to be purchasing his sales program, right?
We're going to be purchasing his sales program and kind of tapping into that because, like you mentioned, the guy, really good seller, really kind of knows it from, the top to the bottom, just a really buttoned up dude when it comes to the sales process and the framework of sales. And, again, when you really break it down, that's an easy way to relieve that stress, that tension that we talked about, is letting them know the framework in advance. This is how we normally buy houses. Does that make sense to you? And if it doesn't, let's clarify that now before we get to that point where the question comes up. So great stuff there, guys. We're welcoming everybody onto the screen now. Just here before we end everything, wanted to kind of get everybody on for one quick chat and hear any final feedback from you guys here before Alex heads out. I know he's got a flight coming up, so we're gonna have to cut it pretty cut on time here.
Yeah, I don't want to miss my flight back to Maui.
So guys, anything you want to say real quick? Any questions you have about masterminds? Do let us know. I'm gonna again get everybody in here as quick as we can, and then we'll go ahead and cut things off and let Alex get on the flight back out there.
Marty had a question too, and I said if I'm ever going to do a mastermind, I'll probably do something in the future. But right now, I wanted to do the whole thing on the yacht. And then the way I really dug deep into it, it was like, oh, how are we going to pull this off? You know, the boat's moving, and I mean, there's not as much like presentation space, and you know, how many people would sign up? I mean, it means it's expensive to take the 100-foot yacht out, so it had to be like $750 to $1,000 a person, and then you know, the COVID thing. So it's still in the works, but it's just not a priority right now. But I've definitely considered throwing a mastermind, and I think we'll do something the next quarter, possibly.
Are you guys going to that Absolute Best or TAB Mastermind?
Is that in Cancun?
Cancun, yeah.
Yeah, I thought about it. I mean, because I just came back from Cancun, it wasn't the best, like as far as the weather, and you know, a whole week over there with some studs and some studettes, I think would be great. I'm not sure yet though. Are you gonna go, Edward?
Really considering it. It's just I've ramped up a lot of my costs with the VAs I've hired, so I'm like, let's lock something up and then we can plan it.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of locking something up, I saw you know, a couple people here in the group kind of taking down some deals lately. So again, congratulations to everybody. I know Camel High said they just took down a couple of deals with some tenants in place. Anybody else getting any deals recently on the books? I think Marina and Chris just got their first deal up in Lodi. So again, a lot of exciting stuff kind of coming around.
My tribe. Look at all these handsome and beautiful faces. What's up?
Who's got the next deal, right? So guys, if anybody has any last questions about masterminds, now's your chance. Let us know, and if not, we're gonna let Alex kind of get running along here before he misses that flight back to the island life, man.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not checking in anything. Yeah. So one more last thing I wanted to say, guys. If any of you are thinking about, you know, either coaching or courses or any of that, make sure that you let me know, because I can get you guys a discount, and then you know, just see which ones work for you guys. You know, I'm not a hard seller, so I don't beg anybody, but you know, bottom line is these things have helped me scale my business, my company, my team, everything, and I just want to help other people do the same thing, depending on where they are with their business and their life.
And I just put in a final poll for you guys here real quick. Just kind of curious, you know, Alex kind of was, you know, pretty open about what he's spent on masterminds, and, you know, just again, kind of wanted to get a general idea of, you know, what people in here would be comfortable paying. I know, you know, we talked about the 5x return, you know, those kind of numbers. So if you put in 20K, do you think you'd get a 100K deal out of it? I think you probably would, right? So with that, guys, if anybody has any last questions, let us know. Alex mentioned it. If you guys are thinking about joining a mastermind, you know, obviously one of the ones that we're a part of is Ryan Pineda's. I know there's a couple people here in the group that are a part of it. I see Jess, I see Nick. You know, and again, if you guys do have any questions, or you're getting to that point where it's, you know, hey, is this mastermind right for me? You know, do you think I should do it? Feel free to give Alex a call, shoot me a DM, give me a text. You know, we're more than happy to kind of jump on with you and go over any questions that you might have about that next step and what that kind of might look like.
Hey, Will, I just wanted to share something really quick.
Yes, sir.
So Alex offers this consultation, this 30-minute consultation phone call. And at the beginning of our friendship or relationship, I started taking one every week. And, you know, I took advantage. I picked his brain, and that helped me out a lot. And now, you know, I have his phone number, and I don't have to do those consultations, because one thing led to another, and it's just a growing relationship. So I just recommend anyone that, you know, wants his time, he has that 30-minute consultation.
Thank you, Amari. Appreciate that, man.
But, yeah, man. And, you know, again, I think that's huge, because that's that first step, right? It's, hey, do I have something to bring to the table? And if, you know, if you're not willing to pay a couple bucks for, you know, somebody else's time, you know, that's usually an indicator like, hey, I'm not ready yet. And Amari, we've seen you kind of grow leaps and bounds over that course of time. So I think that's a testament to what you've put in, and also what you've kind of taken out of it. So I think that's the two-way street that these things kind of run along, right?
Yeah, and credit to Amari, like he's been there, like ready to take action on everything we've talked about. And that's why we've become, you know, like closer, because I throw it out there and like I need something, or he asks questions, and we just we're helping each other out, So it becomes more of like an alignment more than anything. I don't want to charge people, for my time. It's just I want to charge people for my time that are going to take action, so that way we can become closer on getting to our goals together. That's what it comes down to. So I gotta get running, guys. You guys know how to reach me. I'll be back in Hawaii, and then maybe I'll be in Oahu, staying at one of Kamo High's properties sometime in the future.
Let's go. We got some for you.
All right, all right, guys.
Alex, we always appreciate your time, brother. Safe travels. We'll see you soon. All right.
See you guys.
Safe travels.
Take care, guys.